So as you can see here, the traction bars are installed, everything's tightened up good, but there's a potential problem. These things are not adjustable. These old slapper bar types are not. So what do you do if your bumper's up here? Come up here closer. What do you do if when you got this thing sitting on the ground, this gap is too big? Now, you want to have, I don't know, for street driving, I would say about 1/2 inch on the driver's side and maybe a little bit less, maybe 3/8, 1/4 inch or something on the passenger side, just because of the torque of the car. It'll tend to squat the driver's side more than the passenger side, seems like. So if you have them all the way tight up against there, the car will ride a little bit rougher because there's a lot, it reduces the amount of give in the springs. So what you want to do, you want those to go up whenever you launch off a line or do a burnout or whatever. When you start to do that, you get axle wrap, and the leaf spring tries to turn into like an S shape. So this the front part of the spring kind of goes like that, and you want to stop that. So that's what these slapper bars do. So they're not adjustable, they're bolted up directly, as you can see right here. I put this on top just for a little bit of space, just to have a spacer so that the threads didn't come through. And same thing over there. But they're bolted up solid to the springs, right? So how do you adjust that? A lot of times they'll put a steel block in here. They'll just do the same thing up here, down here, to bring that down a little bit. And that's okay. But what happens if, say you launch and you stretch these bolts out at some point? I'm not saying it happens, but it could happen. Over time they fatigue, and then you get going down the road and they get loose. Well, the next thing you know, your block that you've got in here, your plate, whatever, your spacer, gets loose and falls out going down the road. No big deal. You can put another spacer in, but if you're out doing a drag and drive or something, or you're out traveling in the car and that happens, well, you got to round up some steel somewhere and you got to have something to cut it with. So what old Sparks and Grit Garage has come up with, and I don't know if this will work or not, but I've come up with this little device for fixing that problem. What we do is we take one of these here, we loosen this up, and we slide that in there between that, up in there, and it hangs off both sides like that. And there's a 1/4 inch of space already. So if we want to space this out more, well, we'll just loosen it up, put it out there, and stick another one of those in there. Well, a little bit higher. A couple more of them. We'll just stick a couple more of them in there. So that way, something happens, this comes loose, can't fall out of there. So just to see where we're at right now, let's go ahead and set the car on the ground and look at our gaps. All right, go ahead and bounce it a couple times. Front. Bounce it a couple times in the back. All right. Let's go take a look. All right. And we are about a 1/2 inch right there. I can tell by looking with my micrometer eyeballs. Let's look at the other side. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Oh, looky there. We're about a 1/4 inch. Well, shoot, that's pretty near perfect. But here's the thing, we're going to be drag racing this car. So I don't want any axle wrap at all, and I'm willing to give up a little bit of a smoother ride in order to prevent that axle wrap from happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to put one of those C brackets on the driver's side, and we're going to put one plate in there. And then we're going to put a C bracket on the passenger side, and we're not going to put any plates in there. And what that's going to do is that's going to put both bump stops right up against the leaf spring. Now let's go ahead and get this thing down on the ground and see what we did. Okay, let's get down here and take a look. Oh yeah, we're on the leaf spring on both sides. Look over there and you can see that one's on the spring too. So I wonder if I lift up on the car a little bit, if we can see any change in that. Now you keep an eye on that and tell me what you see. That is exactly what I want to see. So hopefully it won't ride too rough, but if it does, hey, it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of these plates with me so that I can make adjustments to these slapper bars out on the road while I'm on the drag and drive. So if you've got some old slapper bars in your car and you want to figure out what the perfect adjustment is for those, a 1/4 inch at a time, give me a holler. Let me know if you want a set of these. Well, like my doctor said, do you want the good news first or the bad news second? Anyway, there was good news and bad news. So good news is, look at this. We got some spinning brake drums. We got kingpins in. We got new tie rod ends. That's all looking good. Front end's already aligned. But the bad news is, when I heated this steering arm up to kind of shape it, kind of get it more into position, end up needing a little bit longer drag length. So I'm going to make a longer one. This one is 28.5 inches long. I want to make one that's 31 inches long because these tie rod ends and the drag length on both ends of it they're in like one thread right now. So I need them to be in at least halfway. So we're going to add an inch or so on both ends, a little bit over an inch. Take care of that, that's no big deal. I can cut that out on the lathe, no problem. The other thing is, what was it? Oh, the pitman arm. So this pitman arm, you see this angle of the drag length the way it is. I want that to be a little bit more straight if possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new pitman arm. And the way I'm going to do that is the part that splines up onto the steering box, I'm going to cut that off and I'm going to shape that, grind that to where that's a perfect circle right there and just get rid of the arm altogether. And then I'm going to cut a new arm out. I'm going to design one up on my plasma machine. I'm going to cut a new arm out of 5/8 plate steel. And I'm going to bend it. I'm going to make it longer, a little bit longer than the one that's factory, and drop it down a little bit. And what that's going to do, both of those things together are going to help with the steering of, it's manual steering. So it'll make it steer a little bit easier, along with this being positioned properly now. It'll make it steer easier, along with the new kingpins, which is going to make it even better. And then, the new tie rod ends and all that new stuff. And then also, one thing I want to do is I'm going to put a little bit bigger steering wheel on it, because as you can see, I've got one of those little, I think it's a Superior Products. It's called the 500 steering wheel. It's an old school steering wheel, and I think it's a 12 inch, it may be a 14 inch wheel, I don't know. But I've got another one that's a 500 wheel, that's a wood grain rim, and it's bigger. I think it's a 16 inch wheel, maybe a little bigger. I'm not sure exactly, I haven't measured it, but I know it's bigger than the one that's on here. And with a little bit bigger wheel, it'll also give me more leverage to turn the car. I just want to make it where it drives real easy, where it steers real easy, but not so easy that it bump steers and all that, which that's not going to be a problem, because the way that I've got this front axle put in here, I've got the kingpins laid back about 10 degrees. So, and if I pump the air shocks up, it makes it about 8 degrees. So it's got negative caster on the steering axle itself. So that on the kingpins laid back a little bit, kind of like this towards the back. And what that does is that helps you whenever you go around a corner and you let go of the wheel, it wants to auto correct and come back straight again by itself. If you've got that zero or forward a little bit, it makes it steer way too. It steers real easy, but the downside of that is every bump you hit, it wants to follow it around. You know, so you know how that happens. So anyway, we laid them back so that we can, you know, so it will drive straight and it won't try to follow all the curves and all the grooves in the road and get death wobbles and all that stuff. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over and make a new drag link that's 31 inches long, and I'm going to cut out just the rough outline of my pitman arm. It's going to be flat steel, and I'm going to have to bend it, and I'm going to have to ream a tapered hole in it for the tie rod end to go in. So got a few things to do here, but the good news is front end's all back together. And you know, these are a couple things that, you know, they seem like a big deal, but they're not going to take all that long to do. So we're going to knock those out, and that way we can get it down off the lift, and I can get in it and finish up the wiring for my tachometer and my gauge cluster and the lights for the tachometer, you know, all that stuff, where it all works like it's supposed to. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to make it 1 inch 900 thousandths to give us about 10 thousandths of clearance around there. Old clearance, you know. And then we're going to make the outside of the thing let's see, I would say about 2.5 inches would be plenty to have some room to weld. We'll get it on there. So 2.5, 1.9, and this one is 1 inch and 100 thousandths. So we're going to make that 1 point. Well, we don't have to make that extra big. We'll make it a little bit bigger though. We'll make it 1 3/8, 1.375. Maybe 1.5. We'll make it 1.5. 1.5, 2.5, and 1.9. That's the dimensions we need to know. We're going to make us a quick and dirty sketch here. Not going to be real precise, not to scale or nothing like that, because TurboCAD will make that look real nice. So we're just going to kind of, we know it's going to be kind of a V shape. Okay. And we're going to round it like that, and there's going to be a round hole in the middle, and that's going to be 1.9 inches, 1.900. You know, don't have to be that precise. Oh, put my arrow the wrong way. And just like that. And then this dimension that we're going to have here is going to be 2.5 inches. All right. And down here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to round it. It's going to be, it's not a real good radius, but you know what I'm saying, it don't have to be at this point. All right. And what we've got is this doodad right here that I made. I put up there to follow the pitman arm, and then I bent this to where it's a steeper drop and it's longer. It reaches the dimension from here to here is longer, and from here to here. And altogether, if you add all this up, this is 11.5 inches long. Right? So we're going to do this dimension. $11.5. Okay. This hole here, I'm going to have to get a measurement off of the one that's on there. to know what size to make it. And I'm going to make it a little bit undersized so I have room to ream it. So, and like I said, this is 5/8 thick. And then there'll be a bend here, right around in here. And another bend right around in here, somewhere like that, to make it fit this shape here. Okay, so I actually thought about this for a second, and I can use this old tie rod end. So this is going to be 484, roughly it's a 1/2 inch, so it'll be a 1/2 thread. So we're going to cut this hole at about leave a little room for air. We're going to make it about about 480. So we're going to make this one 0.480 inches. And that way I can, if it's going to be a little bit small, I can put it on the mill and actually drill it to the size I want. I'm sure that hole's 500 thousandths, so I can put this on the mill and I can drill it to 500 thousandths, or I can mill it with an end mill, plunge it to straighten this hole, make it good and round. It'll be pretty round with the plasma cutter finish, but it'd be a lot better if I bored it with the end mill. So we're going to cut it to that on the plasma, and then we're going to finish it off over on the mill. This one here we won't have to. We'll just grind this to match the outside diameter of the splined piece off the old pitman arm to where this fits pretty close in here. We'll clamp them together, and then we'll put a nice TIG weld around both sides of that to hold it. But first thing we got to do is go draw this up in TurboCAD. Now we have the new pitman arm cut out on the fast cut. We're going to put it on the mill and put a hole in it right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a 7-degree reamer to ream that hole from one side to make sure that it'll fit the tie rod end. And we're going to double check all that, make sure that's good. May even have to trim this end of this down a little bit. I don't know. We're going to do some measuring. It's 5/8 of an inch now. I might need to take it down to a 1/2 inch. Maybe not necessary, but possibly. know if you can really see, but right about there, about a ½ inch down is about where we want it to be. And that is exactly where we're at right now. So we're gonna stop there. We've got that part, the hole, tapered hole reamed in there, and that's good to go. Next thing we gotta do is go ahead and bend this thing to match our template and start fitting it up in there. Just kind of get it close. And then at that point, we'll take the old pitman arm off and cut the spline bore off of it, shape that a little bit, fit it in that hole and weld it in. All right, we got the new pitman arm blank over here at the vise. We're gonna try to heat this up with the torch and see if we can't bend this where we want it. This here is our template, and this stopped right in the center. So you can see how much we got to go. Got quite a bit. Gonna change this thing a whole lot, you know. And here's the tapered end. So we know we want that facing down. Don't want to mess that up. It's gonna be centered up right here. That puts that right there. So when we heat this up, that's where I'm going to clamp this in the vise, right there on that line. And we're going to heat it up right above that, and that's going to bend there. It's going to be pretty tough to bend. I mean, this is a pretty thick piece of steel. This is 5/8, so it's going to take a minute to get enough heat in there to get that hot enough to bend it the way we want it. Now we're cooking with gas, literally. All right. Well, now it's the next day. This thing's cooled off. Oh man, I put that on there tight. Man. Let's go take this over and see how close our measurements are. Let's just get in here and take a look. So if you line that up, pretty much the center of where that's going to be. Looks good. Looks like we got about 2.5 inches of drop and about an inch and a half longer. So hopefully that'll help out with the old Armstrong brand power steering. But as the youngsters like to say sometimes, we finna find out. I have this marked with the arrow pointing up, and I have everything lined up, so here we go. I got everything here on this nice tool rack. You know, the straight axles are designed perfectly for you to be able to put your tools up on there. Let's go ahead and pop a drag link down out of the way. Let's see here. I can get in there to give it a whack. Let's give it a good whack. Pop these down over here. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna go cut that off right around that circle. Turn it. Oh man, it just, I mean, I'm going to trim that, but it clears it. Oh my goodness, I mean literally. There can't be five thousandths of an inch of clearance right there. That is ridiculous how close that is. But you can see it is, the angle is a lot better of the drag length. The angle of the drag length is a whole lot better. Our lines are lined up there and it's still almost dead straight. I'm not even going to have to adjust the drag length Hardly at all, if anything. So that's great. So I guess I'm just going to go in there and trim a little bit off that cross member just to give it a little bit of clearance, just in case something weird happens. But really it'll be fine now, because the up and down movement of the car, the suspension, is not going to change that. So we'll go in there, trim it up, and be good to go. All right, I'm going to get in here and use this grinder and just grind a lot of that off. I know I hate to do it because, you know, I hate to ruin this really rare 1963 AMC station wagon. Here we go. Way better. We've got at least 1/4 inch of clearance there, so we are good to go. This whole car is getting better and better. Everything I do to it, it's just some little improvements here and there, and before you know it, it'll be just right. It is finally time to go ahead and put the front wheels and tires back on. It's a milestone. It's been a long time coming. This thing's been on the lift for a while, so finally got the front suspension, all that stuff worked out. Let's put some new shoes on the front. These feel really light. I don't know, I think they're aluminum, but they sure feel light. I guess it's because they're so skinny. But I don't think they're magnesium. Could be wrong though. If they are magnesium, I got a great deal on them. They do look like magnesium on the back. Heck, these things might be magnesium. I think they're just painted though. I think that's great paint. Usually I think they're marked. They say magnesium, but I don't see that on these. Pretty sure they're aluminum. Or as our friends across the pond would say, aluminium. Okay, well, I learned a little bit of something on this pitman arm deal. First thing I learned was do a little bit of research, because the stuff that makes sense in your brain, well, in my brain, not necessarily your brain, but in my brain, the stuff that makes sense doesn't always work the way you think it will. And what happened was, you know, I put this pitman arm on here and I made it longer and I dropped it and everything. I think, well, it's gonna make it steer easier, longer arm, more leverage. Well, that's not actually the case. It actually steers harder than it did before. Then, after that happened, I did some research, and turns out you gotta get the tie rod in closer to the gearbox in order to make it steer easier. Now you don't want to make it steer too easy, because then you get that bump steer issue. But I do want it to make it steer easier if I can. So we're going to take this pitman arm back off and put it back in the vise and heat it up. And I'm going to bend that sucker down 90 degrees and then bend the lower part where the tie rod end back up where they match each other. And I'm going to shorten this pitman arm, and we're going to throw it back on there and see if it actually does what I wanted it to do. All right, I would say those centers are definitely close together now. What do you think? Let that cool off. We'll throw it back on there and see what happens. All right, here we are. We're 90 now. And check this out. So this is the old arm. And against the new one. This is about where it was. I don't know if you can see that, but now it's about an inch, inch and a quarter shorter than the old arm was. So, according to my backwards hillbilly geometry, it should steer easier now. So let's pop this on there and see what happens. Sounds about right. The alignment of the front tires is not off a whole lot. I believe I can adjust it out here. Probably have enough left. When I built this drag link, I tapped it extra deep so that if I have to trim a little bit off the ends of it, I can. But it does look like I might have enough threads left. Got the front end all aligned back up again, pretty good. Let's go ahead and put it on the ground, back on the floor, and see if it feels any different. Oh yeah. Noticeably better, noticeably easier to steer. Thank goodness, that's exactly what I was after. I think that's gonna be perfect. Can actually turn it with it sitting still. It's gonna drive really good going down the road.